right, Commissioners, we'll come back to order for our City Commission meeting today. As we come together for this meeting, we'll start with a moment of silence and then move to the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll work through the agenda. So if you would join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, next we will have roll call.
Commissioner Asasi.
Present.
Commissioner Robbins.
Present.
Commissioner Purdue.
Present.
Commissioner O'Connor.
Present.
Commissioner Knight.
Present.
Commissioner Goey.
Present.
Mayor Bliss.
Yes. And before we get to first opportunity for public comment, I do believe we have a translator with us today. And so if you need assistance, do we have... Oh, yeah. So if you need assistance with translation services, you're welcome to come forward. If you want to come up here and introduce yourself. Hi.
Oh, can you push the little button right there? There you go.
There you go. Hi, good afternoon. My name is Annabelle, and I'll be providing Spanish interpreting services for anybody that needs it. Mi nombre es Annabelle. Estaría ofreciendo mis servicios de intérprete si alguien lo necesita.
Thank you so much. All right, so today we have a full agenda and we have multiple opportunities for public comment. So the first opportunity, which I'm going to open up in just a moment, is public comment specifically on agenda items that we're voting on. So throughout today, we've had a number of standing committee meetings where we have discussed issues and voted on them. And so if you're here to be heard on an agenda item that we're voting on, I'll open up that public comment period in just a moment. We also have three scheduled public hearings. So if you are here to be heard on any appeal related to the Uptown Business Improvement District, the special assessment for Roll 8786, I'm going to ask you to stay put until we open up that public hearing. If you are here to be heard on the transformational brownfield plan request related to, well, it's a whole host of projects on Market and then over on the west side, I'll have you wait until we open that public hearing. And then we also have a scheduled public hearing on a brownfield plan amendment for the Seymour condominiums project. So again, if you are here to be heard on any of those three options or any of those three topics, please stay put until we open up those scheduled public hearings. And then at the end of the meeting, we'll have open public comment on any other issue. So with that, I'll open up the first opportunity for public comment. Again, this is public comment on agenda items only. You're welcome to come up here to the microphone, share your name, the city that you live in. You'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak. And then I ask that you be really explicit about what action item you're speaking on. So if it's CD number 2, fiscal committee number 1, please let us know. So is anyone here to be heard on action items that we're voting on? Hi. Good afternoon. Good to see you. Oh, yeah, just said that. There you go.
All right, very good. Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, City staff. My name is Rodney Brown. I'm a lifelong Third Ward and Southeast Grand Rapids passionate supporter. And I wanted to come before you today to speak on your fiscal committee work and some of what I observed and heard from your committee of the whole meeting this morning. And just by way of background, most of you I do know, some of you I've spent time with. And with that being said, I want to apologize for not coming before this body sooner. And I do think that I should have been more engaged with my community that I love as we struggle to do some very difficult work. I recognize that from your meeting this morning, but I recognize that just overall. So just by way of background, for those who don't know me, I am, again, a lifelong, passionate, committed supporter and advocate for the Third Ward in Southeast Grand Rapids, as well as for the BIPOC community in Grand Rapids. Back in 1994, fresh out of college, I learned community organizing at our neighborhood associations. I think at least one of you up there, maybe two, started out in our neighborhood associations. And I went on to actually be a candidate for 3rd Ward City Commission in 1997 when I was 27 years old. The very next year,
Mr. Brown,
I just by way of background, Mayor.
yep, thank you. So can you tell us what item you speak on?
We are struggling. I just need for us to understand kind of where we are now. And my offer to that, I've shared with some of you that we cannot leave any partners behind. So I'm an educator.
Yeah.
And towards that end, I say fiscally, with the fiscal committee and some of the work that you're deliberating, Mayor, and some of your leadership, Mayor, and I don't want to be sensational in this regard, is very challenging to this process around the voice and the consistency of connecting with grassroots individuals from the city of Grand Rapids and indigenous Black people here in the city of Grand Rapids. So I could go on. I'll come back up when I take that time. But to those of you that I work with, I'm grateful for the partnership and the collaboration opportunities. But as was stated again, we have some tremendous work to do. I want to thank Commissioner Goy specifically and Commissioner Knight for the tough questions that they're asking, and really appreciate that. Not the editorializing, but I really appreciate the tough questions that we're asking about BIPOC community development. I'll be back to see you.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to close that opportunity for public comment and go on to the approval of the minutes. So Commissioners, we have 2 approval of the minutes before us today. Minutes from April 23rd at 7 p.m. and from April 30th at 9 a.m. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
All right, moved and supported. Any additional questions or comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, next that will take us to petitions and communications.
The first one is communication received from Mark Baker, Soft Lights Foundation President, regarding LED street lights.
That's received and filed.
Communication received from Matthew Chafee regarding their resignation from the Michigan Street Corridor Improvement Authority.
That's referred to our Committee on Appointments.
2 communications received expressing opposition to the proposed Corwell Drive street name change.
That's received and filed.
And communication received from Dylan Smith requesting an appeal of a FOIA request.
And that is also received and filed. All right, next that will take us to reports of city officers.
First one is a comptroller's warrant report for the period of April 10, 2024 through April 23, 2024 in the amount of $25,619,453.51, and the monthly travel and fund reports.
Thank you. That's received and filed.
And the treasurer's report for the period of April 10, 2024 through April 23, 2024.
And that is also received and filed. All right, Commissioners, next that will take us to our consent agenda. So our consent agenda are items that we voted on earlier today in one of our standing committee meetings where there was a unanimous vote. So today, with one voice vote, we'll adopt those items. Commissioners, can I get a motion?
So moved. Support.
All right, moved and supported. Commissioners, any additional questions or comments about the consent agenda? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. All right, next that will take us to our scheduled public hearings. So we have, as I indicated, 3 scheduled public hearings. The first one is a public hearing for this body, this city commission, to hold a public hearing to hear appeals on the Uptown Business Improvement District, Special Assessment Roll 8786. So we'll call up Paula to tell us about that item. And this is only for individuals who are on this assessment roll that are appealing their assessment. So if you are here you're on this assessment roll and you want to appeal that assessment, I'll open that up in just a moment. Go ahead.
So this is the Uptown Business Improvement District, which was approved plan back in March of 2022. So this is the 3rd year of the 3-year plan. And the Uptown Business Improvement District encompasses the business corridor along Fulton Street East, Lake Street, Cherry, and Wealthy Streets. And since 2014, has levied a special assessment to provide funding for enhanced services. So property owners were sent notices on March 15th, 2024, notified of the charge and the appeal process. The special assessment roll has been open for public inspection for at least 2 weeks, starting on March 15th through today. We haven't received any appeals as of today. So today, the City Commission convenes as a board of review to hear appeals, and it's the final opportunity to file an appeal. So I'll be available to take those appeals in, and then we'll review those appeals and report back to the commission on June 11th for confirmation. And if it's confirmed, then this will be invoiced on the July 1st tax statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Is anyone here to be heard on this appeal for Uptown? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close that public hearing, and that will take us to our next. So Commissioners, we have 2 additional public hearings today. Mr. Klooster will present on both of them. We'll start with the first one, and this is a public hearing to consider a transformational brownfield plan for the Grand Action 2.0 redevelopment project. So what I'd like to do is have Mr. Klooster give us an overview of this. I know we have representatives from Grand Action 2.0 present as well. They are welcome to come and add anything that they would like to add. I'll open it up for anyone from this body to ask questions, and then we'll open it up for public comment. I know some of you have already been briefed on this project, either at Economic Development Project Team or Brownfield Authority. So some of this may be a repeat for you, but it's important. It's an important project. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Klooster to get this public hearing started.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to walk through various components of this project, which is the subject of a transformational brownfield plan submitted by Grand Action 2.0. We've been talking about it as a sort of 4-component project, and those are represented here on the screen. So as a high-level overview, this is 2 separate pieces of property. One is on what we call 201 Market. It is a series of properties along the river on Market Avenue, south of 131. And the other piece is on the west side, current surface parking lots. On the 201 Market property, the lead development is the Acrisure Amphitheater. This is on 10.6 acres of property that is anticipated to be sold to the Convention and Arena Authority pursuant to a purchase and sale agreement between the city and the CAA. 12,000-seat Acrisure Amphitheater outdoor entertainment facility there. And then to the south of that, a future component of that project would be a 21-story residential apartment building constructed on top of a parking ramp. On the west side, we have the soccer stadium, Grand Rapids Soccer Stadium, an 8,500-seat soccer stadium to host a professional soccer team. And then to the north of that, we have a future phase development, which is an 18-story building, proposed 18-story building that would contain 260 apartment units and then both retail and office space also on top of a parking ramp. Between those 4 projects, the total anticipated development cost is $715 million. It also includes the development of the River Edges Trail from US 131 down to Welty Street. Altogether, when completed between surface and ramped parking, we have 1,300 parking spaces and the opportunity for 238 total full-time equivalent jobs with wages that you see represented at the bottom of the screen there, about $18 to $43 per hour, with an overall average of over $25 an hour. Graphic representation here of sort of the nearly 20 acres, so you can see the scale of this in terms of downtown Grand Rapids and comparing to other significant projects downtown as well. High-level transformational brownfield, you've seen this before. We had the Factory Yards project approved earlier, about a year ago, and there are additional incentives available for projects that qualify for the transformational component of the brownfield program. In order to qualify, the project has to have a minimum investment of $100 million. We clearly have that here, multiples of that. The project also has to have the expectation for a transformational impact on local economic development and community revitalization. So we will talk about how we expect that to be true of these series of projects here. What transformational brownfield opens up is additional incentives from the state for the project. They are derived generally from state income taxes that are paid by employees on the projects, at the projects when they're complete, and then residents of the projects as well. From a local perspective, what you are being asked to consider that's included in the transformational brownfield plan is the local tax increment capture, which is the same as you see with other brownfield projects that come to you. The eligible costs that are able to be financed over a long period of time through future taxes that are not in existence today are expanded under transformational brownfield as well, and essentially all of the construction costs for these projects are eligible. That's nearly $550 million. Couldn't fix that, sorry. Digging into each individual component here, so starting with Acrisure Amphitheater, which demolition has started for that project recently. This is a $185 million project. The details are there, 12,000 seats at this amphitheater. We expect more than 54 ticketed events per year. 48 of those jobs are associated with the amphitheater. It is to be owned and operated by the Grand Rapids-Kent County Convention and Arena Authority, our partner that also operates the Van Andel Arena, DeVos Convention Center. And then this project would also include the development of the River Edges Trail. Associated parking initially will be surface parking, and the ramped parking would be developed at the time the residential tower is further developed as well. So you'll see a table like this for each component of the project. I'm not going to get into very specific numbers here, but I do want to represent for each project that there's a difference in the incentives that are available. So you'll see similarities between the amphitheater and the soccer stadium. These are publicly owned, publicly operated facilities. There is no property tax generated by those facilities, and the incentive is derived from state income taxes paid by the construction workers and the employees at the site when it's complete. And then there are opportunities for sales tax exemptions on construction materials and the capture of future sales tax as well. So for the amphitheater and for the soccer stadium, you'll see a similar table where that red box is empty. There are no local taxes associated with the incentives for these projects. For the future phase residential development, which you'll see represented there, and by that representation you'll understand that this is conceptual and needs a developer to advance this project. As currently envisioned, it would contain 475 residential apartments. The breakdown between studio 1-bedrooms and 2-bedrooms is shown there. Rents currently projected to be from about $1,766 per month to over $3,000 per month for the larger units. This is not a job creation project. There would be jobs associated with the management of the property, but this is a residentially driven project. It would sit on top of a parking ramp that would serve both the amphitheater patrons as well as the residents at that future residential development. A different story here for this private development, where there are significant opportunities for public support for this project over a long period of time. I do want to call out that number of years column there. That means that these incentives are derived from taxes that will be created by the developer when they make the investment and complete the project. None of these incentives will be available until the projects are complete and operable, and are subject to further approvals by the City Commission, as we'll get to. But they also can benefit from those state incentives as well. These are very large projects, very complex projects built on very challenging property adjacent to the river and what used to be the river. You'll also be asked to consider in the future neighborhood enterprise zone tax exemptions similar to other residential projects that you see come before you. And this table will look similar to the private development next to the soccer stadium as well. So getting to the soccer stadium specifically, you've heard a lot about this. This is, again, to be constructed on what's currently surface parking lots. It is a $172 million development with $127 million of construction costs, an 8,500-seat professional soccer stadium with both soccer matches and then opportunities for other community-oriented events at the property throughout the year, all 4 seasons of the year. There are more jobs associated with this component of the project, 104 full-time equivalent jobs with wages there ranging from $20 to $43 per hour, again, to be owned and operated by the CAA. And there will be additional components to this project, not just the soccer pitch, but also the related facilities that it would include a restaurant and then concession space, but also team offices and support facilities. And it would include that outdoor open-air plaza on the southeast that you see on the bottom left picture there as well. A table very similar to the Acrisure Amphitheater, where there are no local incentives available for this project. These incentives are derived from those state sources that are available only through the Transformational Brownfield Plan. And as with all the other tables, these are performance-based incentives generated by the construction of the project itself. The final component is similar to the residential tower adjacent to the amphitheater. This is a future phase development envisioned at this point as 18 stories with 260 residential apartments, a mix of studio 1s and 2 bedrooms with rents ranging from about $1,900 to $2,500 per month. And then, as I mentioned, both retail and office space here. Also significant job creation with this project with that retail and office space. 84 jobs projected here. It would sit on top of a 350 space parking ramp. And then again, similar to the residential tower next to the amphitheater, significant both local and state incentives here. Performance-based, driven by the development of the project itself. And this, as I said, when we set this public hearing a week ago, this transformational brownfield plan is really an opportunity to take advantage of these public-private partnership projects, the amphitheater and the soccer stadium, combine those with these preliminary projections for the residential and mixed-use development and provide certainty around this incentive for a developer to feel confident in the development of these complicated projects. This table then brings it all together as a combination of those four tables that you saw, one for each component of the project. So all of these properties are what we call facilities, meaning they're contaminated, or they're adjacent to a facility, meaning they're eligible for the brownfield program. The minimum investment far exceeds the $100 million requirement. They are mixed use, which is a requirement of the Transformational Brownfield Program. I think important to note the current taxable value of this 20 acres of property downtown is $0 right now. So project a future taxable value of over $65 million. There are over $550 million of eligible costs associated with these 4 projects, and the maximum reimbursable amount at this point in time is estimated to be about $286 million. I want to talk a little bit about the affordable housing component of this project. Under Transformational Brownfield, there are additional incentives available to projects that propose or that enter into an affordable housing agreement with the local unit of government. As you heard me say, we do not have developers for the private development projects. And so at this point in time, what we are proposing is sort of a high-level agreement that will be transferable to a future developer. The agreement would outline 2 pathways here to achieve a level of affordability at the project, or to provide financial resources for the city to invest in affordable housing, whether it's at the project, adjacent to the project, or in other places in the city. You'll see the details there. I really do need to emphasize that this is preliminary and these projects are likely to change. They will not be exactly as proposed. The details won't be exactly as proposed. And as time goes on and those become more clear, I need to emphasize that these agreements would be high level and be transferable, and that transfer of those agreements would be subject to your approval. So the details of those affordable housing agreements would come back to you, and you would have opportunity to get the final details of the project and the final details related to the affordable housing program for each of those projects in the future as well. Lastly, we always give you details about our efforts to partner with private developers, general contractors, and subcontractors to increase access to opportunity for women-owned, minority-owned, and micro-local subcontractors in connection with private development projects. Pioneer Construction is in a partnership with Barton Mallow and is managing the Acrisure Amphitheater project. That is the only project we have an inclusion plan for at this time. It's the only one that's advanced far enough to submit an inclusion plan with meaningful activities and targets. This is a project that has a total construction cost of about $111 million. Of that $111 million, there's about $42 million of that are very large, unique, and complex scopes of work, that there are very few firms capable of ready, willing, and able to perform that work, whether locally or not. And so that really limits the opportunity for dollars to show up here in terms of subcontracts, and I believe that to be true. There are other opportunities at this project for partnerships with local educational institutions and nonprofits, as well as subcontractors that might not show up in a dollar amount in a subcontract, but that are meaningful for those companies. We do, however, always give you dollar amounts, and the inclusion plan submitted by Pioneer has a target of $6 million as broken down there. I think they believe that the opportunity is higher than that if the stars align, which doesn't always happen. And so I believe that this is a reasonable and achievable goal, and I think we have hopes that the number that we see at the end of the day, which we will report back to you, is higher than this. So tying that all together into one pretty table here gives you the timeline for all the projects, the total development costs and construction costs, the housing units associated with the different projects and the jobs and wages, and then the new city income tax that we would expect to be generated by the residents and employees at these projects when they're completed. And then the last two rows are the incentives that are before you today, the local tax capture, and that we anticipate being before you in the future for those neighborhood enterprise zone exemptions. I have said everything that I would like to say, and I would like to invite Carol Wood, the Executive Director of Grand Action 2.0, up briefly, and then we'll be available to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Jono, and good afternoon, City Commissioners. We're excited to bring to you this transformational brownfield plan application for your consideration and a public hearing today. Certainly want to highlight that these will be publicly owned venues. The Convention Arena Authority has been a partner in these projects and will be the owner, operator, and maintainer of these assets long term. Also want to mention that these projects will result in over 10 acres of redeveloped, underutilized riverfront property in our downtown. They will add green space to our riverfront, allowing public access to the Grand River and leveraging over $20 million of additional investment on our riverfront. These projects are also going to provide linkage to over 100 miles of trails that connect our city to West Michigan and beyond. In addition, as Jono mentioned, in construction alone, these projects are expected to create more than $14 million in minority, women-owned, and micro-local business participation, with aspirational goals that could exceed over $30 million overall. They'll serve as a catalyst for more than 735 housing units, which our city and our region desperately need. The construction and operations of these projects will result in 238 new full-time equivalent jobs and have over $1 billion in economic impact over the next 32 years. We're excited to bring these projects before you, and I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Klooster or Ms. Wood? All right, thank you. All right, I'll now open this public hearing. If you are here to be heard on this request for a transformational brownfield, you're welcome to come forward. We ask that you share your name, the city that you live in. You'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, friends. Mark from Grand Rapids. To me, this project smells of some billionaire individual who will bring a professional soccer team to Grand Rapids and have a brand spanking new stadium that individual is not going to pay a penny out of his pocket. It's not good. As I said once, and I'm going to say it again, if this billionaire owner wants to bring a soccer team to Grand Rapids and the stadium is built, he can build it his own self. They can say publicly own all they want, but a private owner is going to have the team play in a stadium that he or she is not going to build. So you better think about this. You know what happened in the D.C. area, in Kansas City, and it's about to happen in Chicago. Because the people in Chicago is spoken. They are not going to pay more than half of what they're going to put up for the Bear Stadium and the demolishment of Soldier Field. The McCaskies have all that money to burn. They can build it themselves. So to me, let this owner of this proposed professional soccer team build the stadium. Now, as far as the amphitheater and the residential stuff is concerned, you know, it's too late for the amphitheater. It's already been approved and everything. But the stadium, go back to the drawing board. No public money should be funded. No bonds, no hotel tax, no nothing. Hate to say that, but hey, somebody has to say it, so it may as well be me. Thank you.
Others wish to be heard?
Hello, Mayor and Commissioners, city officials. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Sini Gant Jordan. I'm a third generation here in Grand Rapids of taxpayers. And I want to say that these projects that have been put before us, I've been following along. I think there will be great projects if they're done in a way that's very inclusive with community and not just with the develop with us people, it's develop with community, all of us. All of us have voice and opportunity for these projects to be outcomes that would benefit all of our communities. And I do want to see that there's more inclusiveness when it comes to our Black community, because it is not happening. I don't see dollars going toward us. I know that's more of the budget thing, but we've done a lot of work, and me as a volunteer city servant on the Corridor Improvement Authority boards and other boards with the city, I just don't see the outcome that we have spoken to. When it comes to projects such as these, we've asked to be included in some of the decision-making, some of the programs that would go forth when it comes to opportunities for skill, earn as you learn, opportunities for sisters in development. We don't hear our Black Voice Consortium being talked about at all in the budget. And the problem is these opportunities have been before you all. We've communicated with all of you about what the outcomes that we want. And so when these projects go forth, we should be able to be at a table advising, hearing, and not just certain groups of people. We have a group of people that have been talking about these projects with, I would say, I know I talked with Karen Woods plenty of times, and John Okustra. These are brownfield development projects. We have been the ones suffering behind these, on the grounds of these contaminated lands that they call brownfield. And they're getting tons of dollars, and we've been asking for opportunities to be involved more in these projects. And so I would like to see that happen. I know it's possible, and just because it hasn't been done before doesn't mean it can't. People are coming into our community and taking advantage of what we have been suffering behind. The lands that are contaminated, and they're getting dollars. Where are the dollars to help us move our projects ahead? How are we being more involved? How is the city really being more inclusive and really holding up that equity statement? I would like more conversation about this when it comes to how we are involved and benefiting for generational wealth, because others are, and a lot of them that are not from our city. Not that I disagree with these projects, but I want more involvement. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your comments. All right, anyone else who wishes to be heard on this request? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close that public hearing, and it'll take us to our next public hearing. This is a public hearing to consider a brownfield plan amendment for the Seymour condominiums projects. And this is our project located at 2550 Eastern Avenue Southeast. And so again, I'll turn to Mr. Klooster. And then is there someone here from the
Yes,
project?
there is. Dakota Reel is here from
Great. And then we'll have
ICC.
Dakota come up, and then I'll open it up for public comment.
Thank you. Public hearing to consider a brownfield plan amendment for the Seymour Condos redevelopment project that you see on your screen here. You've likely heard about this. This is a condo development that will provide 27 new affordable homeownership opportunities in one of the city's great neighborhoods in Alger Heights by rehabilitating the vacant and obsolete building that was previously used for a school and for a church. As proposed, the project would provide 14 units that are available to households earning 80% area median income or below, and those would be included in ICCF Community Homes Community Land Trust. And then the remaining 13 homes would be available to households earning 120% area median income or below. And the affordability for these, all of these units is at least 20 years. For those land trust units, it would go essentially in perpetuity. This is the first and one of several projects that we're working on currently in the Economic Development Office that takes advantage of the new legislation under the Brownfield Redevelopment Finance Act. What that means is that this project includes eligible costs that were not eligible previously. Specifically for this project, it is the gap between what it costs to build these homes and what the developer is anticipating to sell them for. The sale price for these units is below market rate. It's a price that's not available in the market today, and especially for the new construction product that is being proposed here. So the Brownfield Authority did recommend this plan to you. It would provide up to $600,000 in a forgivable loan and reimbursement of up to about $3.1 million of eligible brownfield costs. It's about a $10 million construction project. The developer is anticipating 10% of those construction costs being subcontracted with women-owned, minority-owned, or micro-local subcontractors. It's about a $13.5 million project overall, and they expect construction to begin this year. With that, I will invite Dakota up to talk about a little bit more about the details of this project and their engagement that they've done to date.
Great. Thank you, Jono. Hi, welcome.
Hi. Hello. Thank you all for having us today. We're so excited to bring this brownfield plan to you. ICCF has been working with neighbors of the Alger Heights community on these plans since early 2021. So this has definitely been a labor of time and love. As Jono mentioned, this would be 27 new homes right next to the Alger Heights Business District. It's incredibly walkable and includes a bus stop right out front. It has a ton of amenities that homeowners will be very excited to access. A couple things not noted earlier that I'd just like to mention is that ICCF has worked really, really hard to garner financial support to make sure that these homes are priced appropriately and accessibly to our neighbors that we're targeting. So folks earning 80% AMI or less, we are targeting to sell those homes at around $175,000. And the homes for 120% AMI or less, we're targeting at $230,000. All homes are 2 to 3 bedroom units with 2 full baths, and 1 full bath and bedroom are located on our first floor of every single home. We did this intentionally for our neighbors who wish to remain in their new condo homes as ability changes for their household. We have garnered financial support from the RAP program from MEDC and the City of Grand Rapids as that main applicant. The MISHDA Missing Middle Funds, home funds, we received a federal allocation as well. So this has a ton of support, and we're really hopeful that this Brownfield Fund will also help us to support that project. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dakota. Commissioners, any questions or comments on this request? All right, I know some of us have had a chance to walk through this site and are well aware of the investment that is needed in order to bring it up to use again. I love that this is a project that focuses on home ownership, and I just want to say how much I appreciate the state for moving forward the changes to the housing TIF bill that enabled us to really use an additional tool for a project such as this. So thanks for being here, Dakota. Commissioner?
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm really excited about this project. It is in our 3rd ward. My only disappointment is that this project is not so technically oriented like the other projects that we talked about. And yet there's only a 10% participation in this effort. And I would think that within this community, within the 3rd ward, there should be a larger participation of MBEs, WBEs, and MLBs in this project. Is there a reason why it's only at 10%?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking. So when we filled out the application, we kind of set a goal. This was obviously before we started some of our outreach to WMBE organizations. I can say that we've had a resoundingly good outreach efforts. We recently held a open house and invited minority-owned and local contractors, both via kind of the traditional construction websites, but also we mailed every single neighbor in the area. Over 2,500 neighbors received the invitation inviting local contractors to come, take a look at the bids, learn more about our project and things like that. We are very, very hopeful that we will have more than this. Traditionally, ICCF exceeds these goals with our general contracting partners. This was simply the kind of goal that we knew we would reach when applying.
I guess I think that's great, and I'm glad that you're thinking more about that. But once you set this goal, it's pretty hard for people to say, well, let's go beyond that. So I would suggest that you really push for that to go higher.
Thank you, Commissioner. There is a balance between the overly aggressive and achievable goals, I do believe. We are trying to, as I said previously, look at this as a partnership. Wolverine is the general contractor here. I believe Wolverine is very dedicated to proactive outreach and providing access to opportunity. And as Dakota said, I won't be surprised if they come in higher than this. We also want to, as our role in the partnership, we want to make sure that we're setting people up for success as well, and not to be perceived as failing when they don't achieve a goal that wasn't realistic in the first place. So we do our best to arrive at, for each individual project, what the aspirational but idealistically attainable goal is, and we work towards that, and not achieving that goal, we don't want people to feel like they're failing either.
You know,
And I understand that that's a complicated place to put ourselves in the middle of, but we have done so successfully for 2 or 3 years now.
Let me just say that, I appreciate the efforts and the work. I just think that 10% is pretty low. I remember when we did our project, we had a general contractor that thought about that the same way, and we ended up with 62%.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, any other questions or comments? Commissioner?
Thank you. Thank you for those questions and that response. Just a small question. Curious where the naming came from.
For Seymour?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a little history, and I'm sure I'll muddle it for neighbors who are watching. So this was previously the Seymour Christian School, elementary school, for many, many decades. That's what it was kind of built as. And so when we were planning, and every time someone would ask us what building we were referring to, since there's actually 2 almost identical buildings side by side, we would be saying, oh, it's the Seymour School. So this was kind of an easy way to adopt that name and history and honor kind of the legacy of education that neighbors enjoyed.
Yeah, that's awesome. The next business district down on Franklin and Eastern is referred to as Seymour Square. So I was wondering, and this is an Alger Heights business district, so I thought that might be confusing, but I can see why you went the direction you went.
Yeah. It's a great question. I was wondering the same thing. Yeah.
I think, we keep seeing like there's a Seymour Church right across the road from here as well. So we know there's a deeper history there for sure, but a way to honor at least the school itself. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. All right, I'll now open up the public hearing. So if you are here to be heard on this project, you are welcome to come forward. Again, we ask that you share your name, the city that you live in, and you'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak. So is there anyone who wishes to be heard on this project or this request? Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
My name is Paula Woods. I live in Grand Rapids, and I actually live in this area, Madison and Burton area. I'm sorry, commissioners, city manager, all of you. I live in this area. I actually shop in that area almost every day. I'm there. I'm pleased to see this come to my neighborhood. I mimic what Commissioner Goey says about the 10%, but more disappointing to me than that is when you say families are coming here. That's a very busy area, and the neighborhood children play now in the playground that's there, and there's nothing there for the neighborhood kids. So if you're talking about families, it's not representative of what a family would be because there's nowhere for the children to play. The other thing that I'm bothered with is the fact that it's land trust. You just talked about people living there, and then as they get older, they can move to another area. And then when they die off, they've paid all this money, and none of that money goes to their children. They don't inherit anything. So they're paying into a legacy that they don't even receive anything from. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. All right, are there others who wish to be heard on this request? All right, seeing none, I'll just give Dakota or Mr. Klooster an opportunity to respond to any of those comments, and then we'll move forward.
Yeah, so I think the first concern was about playgrounds and safety. So I did want to assure the neighbors, as we've talked about since 2021, we are working with Tabernacle Community Church to move the playground equipment that is currently sitting at Seymour Schools to their property. We've connected them with Wolverine Construction to kind of help them do that. We've also committed some actually volunteer time from our staff to help them re-put that up and make sure it's put up where they wish it to be. So There is ample green space. One of the design intentions of this building, as you can kind of see from the photo on the bottom right corner, we have a shared communal green space. This is kind of a space for neighbors to gather together, for children to play. There is a ton of room in the middle of that section that's just going to be grass and then beautifully landscaped around it. We also have a community room that will have a small kitchen and things like that. We've really tried to incorporate as much community space as possible while also honoring the fact that these are condos, right? So some of our neighbors do want a smaller space and do want support managing landscaping. So we've tried to do our best around safety, especially with our parking plan and things like that. But yeah, it's a different use than what it was. The second concern was about community land trusts. And so I did just want to clarify one piece. So community land trusts are treated in the same way as other homes and valuables owned by families when someone passes away. So it would pass directly to anyone's heirs, and they would reap the benefits of that equity building process. The main difference with community land trust homes and at ICCF's Community Homes Land Trust is that when someone goes to resell a home, they cannot sell it for the full market value of that home. They also did not purchase it for the full market value initially. The goal of that is to simply ensure that these homes remain affordable permanently. There is growth. Neighbors do create equity. We just completed kind of a quick study of the first 10 or so homes we sold, and those neighbors have already built a combined $208,000 of brand new equity. That's just owning for less than about 3 years for our oldest neighbor. So they are building equity, and it can be passed to heirs, and we are there to kind of support them throughout their homeownership journey. So the intention is really to create those support systems for our neighbors.
Thank you. Appreciate that additional information. All right, with that, we'll go ahead and close that public hearing, and that will be referred back to our committee of the whole. And that will take us to our last opportunity for public comment. So this is public comment on any other item that you wish to speak to this body about. Again, we ask that you come forward. You can come to this speaker, share your name, the city that you live in. You'll be given up to 3 minutes to speak. I'll ask the city clerk to put up the expectations for public comment. Again, we ask that you share your comments with this elected body, not anyone in the audience. If you have questions, we won't answer them, but you can always connect with city staff or one of us afterwards. And then also we ask that you refrain from using certain language, including swearing and name calling and derogatory comments.
Mark back again. I want my voice to be heard. Again, if people don't like, and if people on the Facebook pages don't like what I have to say, lump it, because you go hear it right again. The United States is at a critical stage. People out here running rampant about anti-DEI, anti-CRT, anti-anything that involves black people. Just more recently, you had Ole Miss students from a white fraternity shouting racial slurs and making monkey sounds at a black woman who basically was protesting what's happening in Israel. To me, that fraternity should be kicked out of school altogether. And furthermore, a state rep from that from that state rep down there not only supported it, but egged them on. And the presumptive GOP nominee was also cheering them on. And more recently, a bunch of affluent white people want to separate from Baton Rouge and build their own little affluent East Grand Rapids style suburb. And you're going to try to hoodwink the people of Baton Rouge to pay for it. This is what happens when you don't get out and vote. You sit at home, this is what happens. And I'm going to keep harping on you young people out there. If you don't get up off your butts and go to the polls, or get registered and then go to the polls and vote, you will be the ones who will suffer. See Louisiana, see Florida, see Mississippi. So it's up to you to make a decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. All right, others wish to be heard? Yeah. Hi, kid.
So again, I'm just going to continue on from where I started earlier. And towards that end,
Can you start with your name?
I'm so sorry, Rodney Brown, passionate, Third Ward, and Southeast Grand Rapids advocate. Thank you. But just to carry on from that point, so in 1999, we started an organization called the Grand Rapids African American Community Task Force. So by way of information and background, I think a lot of us are struggling with institutional memory. And so I'm just, to that end, trying to provide some of that to the dais. And so when Eric Williams was the city commissioner in the Third Ward, he left the Third Ward seat. We had no people of color for a couple years. Can you imagine Grand Rapids with a city commission and the mayor with not one person of color on it? So that was in the early 2000s, just by way of background. So you also all know that we're producing a film based upon the book that you, Mayor, named the Book of the Year, A City Within a City, The Black Freedom Struggle in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Most of you will be invited to sit on a panel, a roundtable this summer as we wrap up our filming. We'll be done with that film ideally this fall. It's a deep dive into a lot of the issues that you are struggling with. Issues of race, systemic, institutional racism that exists here in Grand Rapids. And so versus stonewalling, Madam Mayor, gatekeeping commission, or gaslighting from any of you, we should be forthright to work together. When I say a partner, I would consider some of you, again, a partner, some people that I know, that I engage with. That's why I'll lift up again these incredible questions that come from Commissioner Goy and any others that are pressing for real discussion, deep dives around issues of equity and inclusion in this community. Let me just say, as it relates to downtown development and the river development, so we'll act as if we don't remember Dwayne Faust. We'll act as if we don't remember that plan that came before us, a black man that presented a full scope of work in order to develop our riverfront, and the issues there with him were scraped from the internet so we don't see it. Google that. That was a thing with us. In closing, I look forward to continue to collaborate with you all. Some of you did receive a letter. You all should have that. That speaks to an agenda for the African American community and economic development interests. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Brown. All right, others wish to be heard?
I'm not sure, is it public comment?
It is, yeah, yep, you can come forward.
Hi, my name is Joyce Gibson, and this is more a selfish note, but I would like to announce that I'm running for commissioner for the 3rd Ward in City Hall here in Grand Rapids. I would like to take a moment to apologize for neglecting to submit a campaign so late. I'm also running for governor 2026 here in the state of Michigan. I'd just like to say what made me campaign real was, or made it real to me and affected me, was getting the signatures, seeing those faces with expectations. It made me commit, and not only to transparency and accountability, but to the drive by God, non-artificial, by God-given discipline. Genuineness, non-artificial, and honesty are the priority in my campaign. As a result, I oversee my campaign, and in each one of you who that have concerns, call me, email me, and I'll get back to you. In conclusion, I'm asking you to get out and vote in the primaries on August 6th. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, others wish to be heard?
Thank you again, Signe Gant Jordan, 3rd generation here in the city of Grand Rapids. And I just want to, as all these projects and opportunities move forth in the city of Grand Rapids, I just want to resurface the reason why I'm so passionate about things that are happening here in this city and the way that they're going without our Black inclusion. In 1984 is when my grandmother, Signe McBride, Duke McBride, passed away at 569 South Division because eminent domain was claimed on a property that she owned. We owned and operated 3 businesses in for 40 years. And because of that, generational wealth was stolen away from many generations in my family. And as opportunities go forth, I want to make sure that things like that do not happen in other families, specifically in the Black families. We are not able to build generational sustainable wealth due to some of the policies and processes that are in place here in the city of Grand Rapids. And I would really like to see them changed. And I would like to see them change with inclusion, equity, and opportunity, specifically for the Black community. Because we are identified as those that should be left behind. Why is that? And how do we change that together? As the equity statement is in the City of Grand Rapids plan says, it says inclusion. It says these things will not happen, in so many words, will not happen, but they continue to. And so I want to ask you all, I want to charge you all with doing better than what we've done in the past. And I can't say that I'm not responsible for that because maybe I haven't done some of the things that I should have done. But I promise you, we are here for change. And that is going to take all of us. Inclusion, participation, speaking up, showing up, and making sure that our children, everyone from our children to our seniors, are looked at and respected in a way that hasn't been done before. Please show up and help us move this work forward. We all deserve it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, others wish to be heard? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close that public comment period, and I'll turn to my colleagues up here, and I'll start down here with Commissioner Goy.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank everyone who participated at this meeting tonight. I think this is, again, one of the greatest things that we can have in this country is to be able to speak up and to have our leadership listen to you, and I think we all will listen to you. And thank you for being here. And just on another side note, this is also, May is Asian American Heritage Month, so I'm proud to be wearing the Filipino men's formal wear to today's meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thanks for highlighting that. Commissioner Knight? Commissioner O'Connor? Commissioner Isasi.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. That was a long day.
Not morning anymore.
Oh, I said good morning? Oh, my goodness. Okay. Well, just making it to the end of the month, but thank you all for the work that was done into this, into these budget sessions. I think, it's a reflection of the conversations that we have all year round. Like, this is not the only time that we're discussing this, so thank you for those that have come to have some conversations. Be happy to meet and talk in some more specifics. I think, again, for me, I'll just highlight, I'll continue to be very focused on, and glad to hear the comments from you last time, City Manager, around our victim support services, as well as continued support for our business districts, and recognizing, and thank you to our colleagues for recognizing, I think we had some conversations about what is the total cost. You move in somewhere, what does it look like to tip your trash? My husband's like, we're only doing it twice a month. There's different rules that people have in their house about things. I'm an avid recycler at both the business where I work at and my home. So these are what I call the bread and butter issues that people really care about. I mean, I think people are living their lives. They have a lot of stuff going on. They want to know if their trash is picked up, if their snow is plowed. They want to have full faith in our water system, which you should have full faith in our water system. And so just talking about these things are very important. So thank you for that work today. I'll look forward to the next sessions, and just reminding the public to continue to share things with us, not only at our public comment, but out in the community. I'll be tonight at the master plan third session where we'll be able to review the draft. So it kicks off in the second ward tonight at JRPS University. I'll hopefully be able to see some people there. I think Commissioner Knight, you're going as well. And then just want to highlight that this month is the 10th anniversary, the 10th annual event of our neighborhood summit. Tenacity, tension, and intentionality. That was some good alliteration. Whoever came up with that, give them an extra day off, because it is 10 years, and I wasn't on the commission when this was started. I think the vision that you, Mayor and Stacy Stout and others had around how could we bring people together so that the first time we're not talking is at a meeting like this. The first time we're talking is not at a public hearing, but is building relationships with individuals. I think you talked about C4 today. We talked about, when we were talking about Develop With Us, was thinking about some of the work on South Division, as thinking about the work of just our corridor improvement authorities. And so I'll look forward to being there for the early part of that. Shannon Cohen is going to be the keynote speaker. Mr. Davis, you all kept that under wraps. How did I not know about that? I want to be on the inside. But it is a free event. I think registration is still open. We prioritize City of Grand Rapids residents. They have the swag is undefeated at the Neighborhood Summit, and it feels like a big, giant community hug. And so while things happen, things are said, things you see things, and there's frustration points. That's what I love about the title, the tenacity and the tension. Everything good comes from that tension. And so kudos to the planning team. It's kind of cool that it'll be the 10-year and your final year on commission, and just invite other people to come to that important event. Thanks.
Thank you for highlighting that. Commissioner?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor, and well said, Commissioner. I appreciate that. Just wanted to extend my appreciation as well to many of the staff members. I know some of these meetings feel long for us, but I know that for every hour we spend on this dais listening and deliberating, there's tenfold probably hours going into preparing that material as well. So just wanted to make sure that was acknowledged. And then just want to share something else kind of on my heart and mind too. I know when it comes to budgeting, we talk about the concept of wards, and I think back to when I was campaigning for this role and just the number of people who had no concept of what a ward was, what the city commission was, and what the role they played within in their daily lives, which I think is partly on us. But I think one thing that I want to be intentional about is not forgetting our neighborhoods of focus. I think we've got some large transformational projects that I'm incredibly excited about within the city, but I was doing some research earlier and realized that the majority of our neighborhoods of focus, or rather the census tracts that are designated as neighborhoods of focus, actually lie within the first ward. So I have utmost respect for my third ward colleagues and their advocacy for connecting their constituents with resources to help improve their quality of lives, but just wanted to make my first ward residents know that the commitment is the same there as well. I think oftentimes some of our first ward neighborhoods and business districts can fall through the cracks when there's a conversation about where specific and targeted resources are being sent to. So that's my focus as well, wrapping up this budget season and also going into next year. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner?
Well said. I look forward to continuing to work on economic security and other policies to support those who are most vulnerable in our city with you all. Great day, productive day. I just want to thank you all, those who came and gave public comment. I think you all did a great, really illustrated the overt and covert ways that racism still operates in our city, that in the past and in the present. And certainly I think there's a role in government to try to right some of those wrongs, and a role for us in community to help right those wrongs and work together. So thank you for sharing your heart and your pain, and using that to fuel our power for what's next. So I appreciate you all, and thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. City Clerk?
We don't really see it today, but it is an election day. So our 21 voters in Kenowa Hills School District are voting today. So my friends at City of Walker are hosting them for through that process. So if you live on that one street in Meadow Ridge and you haven't registered to vote, we are open. Our staff is available to register you today till 8 o'clock. But yeah, so just a little sliver of a street up in precinct 22 on the west side is voting today. But that's it for me.
Thanks. Hopefully they're heeding Mark's call to get out and vote.
Yep.
Right. City Attorney, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for your work today and the staff. We were able to get through all the sections of the budget and preview today, so it looks like we won't need the special session on the 14th to preview the budget. Look forward to the public hearing that'll take place at night at 7 o'clock. Also, I echo Commissioner Sassi's point on getting engaged with the development of our future of our city regarding our master plan. This is the most inclusive, participative process that we have had thus far, and I'm talking about in terms of all types of stakeholders from across the community and really diverse participation in a group. And I think Ms. Jordan is one of those that's on the task force. I want to thank people for coming out and do that again tonight on the 7th, on GRPS, the 8th at Ottawa Hills, and the 9th at Sibley Elementary, all at 5 o'clock, beginning the engagement time. I took to heart some of the comments that were said this evening, and I just want to remind people, at least the journey, at least since I've been here. I remember one of the first meetings that I had was when I came to Grand Rapids with a gentleman by the name of Don Williams. Very frustrated gentleman who did a lot of great things in the community, continues to be a beacon, but was frustrated with the progress of a project that he had been trying to work on for years.
Decades.
Around the Martin Luther King Center. And here we stand today with this budget that recommends fully funding almost a $20 million investment to demolish and renovate and really restore some of community pride and opportunity activation in that part of the city. And so I think Frederick Douglass said it best: without struggles, there's no progress. So we continue to struggle, but there's also been progress. And I think we need to acknowledge both. Both the struggle is real, but we've also made some real progress. To that end, when I first arrived here, there was no measurement of equitable investments in this budget. The first budget I arrived in 2018. 2020, I think, was our first one after we created the Equity Office, and the metric was $25 million. And today, if you look at the report, it's $64 million. And we still know that there's still much we have to do, and the work of government is always challenged with resources. But looking at what's in the budget, speaking from the investments, the MLK fire station, the Martin Luther King Community Center, as well as the fire station that's in the 3rd Ward that we are building, along with the continuation of the 3rd Ward Equity Fund. Now, granted, we're speaking of the level, but I'm going to go back to what I heard from one of the commenters today. There are some states afar, Texas, Alabama, Kentucky, Louisiana that are anti-D&I, but you don't have to go across the country to speak of states that are eliminating DEI programs. You can go across our county, the neighboring counties that have done that. So this city, it's not just words. It has been affirmed not only in the equity statement, but in the proposed budget, that we are still serious and still committed to our work. I want to thank the partnership of what started as the African American Task Force, that's now the Black Business Voices, who continue to advise us, and that work is still in the budget. As we funded it last year, the partnership with the Urban League and the Community Consortium, that has not changed. It's still moving forward, but this year we're highlighting additional work. But it doesn't mean that we backed off from any of our previous commitments. So we are still sustaining that momentum, and I want to thank our equity office for continuing to do that. And as I was listening to the conversation, it may be worth a re-highlight when we summarize the readings or the hearings later on the budget, to highlight those equitable investments as our CFO gives us the overall features, but the night of the public hearing, maybe Mr. Davis can help her highlight that.
Well said, City Manager. Thank you. And with that, we're adjourned.